As the title of the video puts it, this video is all about the operators that deserve to have an M1. You might be wondering why Mastery 1 and not Mastery 3 to talk about. Mastery 3 are honestly really expensive to build. It takes a batch of tier 5 materials and then a batch of tier 4 and a whole lot of skill summary trees, whether it's a 5 star or a 6 star. Not to forget, between M1 and M3 is M2, and that takes another 2 batches of tier 4 materials and another big lot of skill summary trees. Whereas in the case of Mastery 1, these are cheap, and even if you start farming from scratch, assuming you have the operators at rank 7, it takes 2 to 3 days to farm the pool of tier 3 materials and tier 4 ones, together with not as many skill summary trees. There are a good number of operators where the Mastery 1 is seriously a big boost, and not having them is simply making you miss out on their utility. That is why I'm making this video today. Now, understand the importance of the Masteries come only if you have your operators at Elite 2. If they haven't been promoted up till there yet, I'm not telling you to rush a promotion. The primary purpose of this video is to help you answer the question of which Elite 2 operators are really deserving of M1. I will be categorizing the operators in terms of the type of big Mastery 1 improvements that they get. There may be operators you can think of that fits one of the mentioned categories, but then I didn't put them in this video. If I never place them at all, it simply means that I don't think it's all that necessary for the Mastery 1 because of situations where another skill of theirs may be more used, or that even if you give the Mastery 1, you might neglect this operator over time. This video is really going out to those that the Mastery 1s can be heavily used on anyone's account. Without further ado, let's start with the first set of operators. The first Mastery 1 improvement we shall speak of is +1 charge. There are operators in the game who can store charge attacks in them, activating them when an enemy is within range. Some of them have 2 charges, some of them have 3. However, there are those that if you have them at Elite 2, that Mastery 1 is especially impactful because it raises the charge limit up by 1, allowing for more burst damage when they have fully stored their charges. The most obvious easy recommendation for this category is Fiella skill 2, which stores only 2 charges when at rank 7. When you feed her the cheap Mastery 1, it raises up to 3 charges, which is a very nice boost to have. That is why it's very common to find people with Fiella at skill 3 and 3, and then skill 2 and 1. The same boost applies to Leonhard, where his skill goes from 2 charges to 3 charges. What's even better is that his skill is a manual trigger one, meaning you can time when you want to use the charges. He's really underrated of an AoE caster, and if you have him Elite 2 already, you must give him a Mastery 1 at minimum of skill 2. To mention about coming operators, Saga is another one with a manual trigger charging skill, going from 2 to 3 charges. I do think she'll be a popular Elite 2 operator, and it should straight up be a minimum that you give her M1 at least on her skill 2 once you have promoted her. Dusk also charges up from 2 to 3 charges, with a Mastery 1 on skill 1, which is really good because she has a small SP cost requirement of 6, exactly like Fiella, which makes her pretty usable as a AoE caster. Unlike Passenger, damn would I be recommending you to build Leonhard or Dusk. The next category has to do with SP cost reduction, but not just any kind. Most operators are going to get an SP cost reduction anyways if you are feeding Masteries. In this case, the people who best benefits are those with charges in their skills. Previously, we spoke of having an increased charge limit, and now we are covering about lower SP cost requirement per charge. Even by lowering SP per charge by 1, this helps so much in any stage in terms of better damage being dealt, better sustainability, and there are plenty of operators that fits this category. The easiest ones to mention would be Saria and Null's skill 1. Both their skill 1s have an SP cost of 5, but this is nicely decreased to 4 with Mastery 1 that helps to charge up their healing skill much faster than before. The instant you have any of these 2 Elite 2, you have to give them a minimum of M1 on their skill 1 first, so that you can experience the big boost that they have in that powerful skill 1. Mudrock has the same SP cost reduction from 5 to 4, which makes it even better as her skills work by defensive recovery. Instead of requiring 5 hits to do her AoE spin, she now just needs 4 that helps her to deal her damage and self-heal so much faster than before. And like Saria and Null, That's the lowest of SP cost that she can go, all with the help of just Mastery 1. At Mastery 3, it's still going to be 4 SP for these 3 defenders. This is definitely a must build to all you Mud Rock users out there. Ifrit is another darn good recommendation, with her SP cost dropping from 8 to 7, which helps the skill to pop and burn even more. And that's the same for Siege, that goes from 11 to 10. Leonhard also enjoys this decrease from 13 to 12 SP per charge, even more explaining why he should get Mastery 1, and also on Saga from 16 to 15. The third category is DPS Boost. Yes, most operators will get an increase in attack if you give them any masteries, but here we are speaking about those where the jump from R7 to M1 is much more superior of an attack increase than anyone else. The greatest example for this is KOB, who has a bigger attack interval reduction when you feed her M1. There is no improvement in her attack interval when going from Mastery 1 to Mastery 2. The only thing that changes are the SP cost, initial SP, and skill duration. This makes it all the more the reason why M1 is just way too good of an upgrade for KOB. Another operator with a good damage boost is Blue Poison. A lot of people enjoy using Blue Poison skill 1 because it's a lazy skill. We all always preach skill 1 and 3, and even I'm guilty of that. But little do many know that skill 2 actually has a much bigger damage burst compared to skill 1. The fact that there's an attack increase, she's able to hit 3 enemies at once, she is doing really big damage on her skill 2. And the SP cost requirement isn't that bad. Now if you feed her Mastery 1 on skill 2, she gets really big of a damage boost, because now the main target will receive an additional shot as well. Double shots on one target and single on 2 others. And that's really good of a damage. She will shred high defense and resistance enemies even faster than her skill 1. Because of that, to all the Blue Poison owners, I highly recommend that you do not sleep on her skill 2. Give her a Mastery 1 and put her to use, training yourself how good skill 2 can be. Moving on, this category will be class 1 target. These are the operators who can hit an additional target that makes the damage increase even bigger than just damage per second. The grand prize winner for this is W skill 3, who only has 3 bombs when you have her at rank 7. When you pull this up to Mastery 1, she now can plant 4 bombs. You gotta remember that her bombs are actually an AoE skill, such that if all the enemies who receive the bombs are bunched together, the damage multiplies tremendously, making it especially impressive of a skill. Now with Mastery 1, you can even better improve on this explosive damage, almost as if there is a 50% increase in total damage. Don't just put your Elite 2 W as a display operator to flex on others. At the very least, feed her 1 Mastery to get a solid improvement in her kit. Cliffheart is also another classic operator that deserves Mastery 1 on her skill 2, that can allow her to pull 3 people instead of 2, which this increase in number is very nice to have. More people are being pulled, more people are receiving her true damage. A coming operator that is Mountain should also minimally have M1 on his skill 3, which jumps from 3 targets to 4 targets, increasing his AoE capabilities. These 3 that I've mentioned are very good of this category, whereas for the coming ones I would mention, it depends on whether you are using them already. This would include Suzerain's skill 2, which is an infinite duration skill after the SP requirement is met. If you have it only at rank 7, she'll only be able to slow 2 targets, but if you raise it up by 1 mastery, it will be increased to 3 targets. This is personally one of my favorite skills, but it's not for everyone because most people will usually be playing with Suzu skill 3. But I would say not to sleep on this skill, try to have fun with it, which the best experience comes from the extra mastery. If you have a Firewatch Elite 2, then you should at least grant her an additional bomb on her skill 2, which is limited to 2 bombs at rank 7, but is upgraded to 3 bombs once you give Mastery 1. Nightmare is not the most used 5-star, but I do see people who like her and build her up to Elite 2. If you have been using her for her healing ability, you should note that the healing ability of Nightmare is best at Mastery 1, which allows her to heal 2 people instead of 1. This makes her a lot better of an option to bring along in stages, but if you have been a skill 2 user, then you wouldn't need this. This one goes out to all the Stun Knight players. We are talking about stun time increase when giving Mastery 1. There are operators who really get a big upgrade in their stun times, which the easiest one to highlight is Texas, who gets a big beefy increase of 1 second in her stun time. That's the biggest improvement out of any other operators, and at the same time, it's also her maximum stun time in this skill. It doesn't increase any further at M3, so there is really no harm to give her that Mastery 1. The next in line is Cliffheart, who also has an increase of 0.5 seconds in her stun time for skill 2, even more emphasizing why her Mastery 1 is good on top of the number of targets being increased. A coming operator, Robin, is also really good with her Mastery 1 on skill 1, with an improvement in the bind time and not the stun time of 0.5 seconds. You can stack the traps that she produces, which is really nice, meaning you can continuously bind like a boss for instance, making M1 really sweet of an upgrade. Just remember that you can only set her traps when there are no enemies within that tile, so it would require careful planning. Finally, we will finish off with range. This refers to an increase in the number of tiles that an operator can deal damage to the enemies, and sometimes the range increase is ever so important. The ultimate winner of this category is definitely Schwartz. Do not be a fool to think that the additional box increase for M1 in Schwartz is a poor upgrade. For the fact that Schwartz is one of, if not the highest physical damage dealer in the game when skill is activated, having a further tile increase that she can hit is a huge quality of life improvement that you need to experience. It will make you want to use skill tree so much more everywhere you go. To be fair, she's the only one that is really deserving of M1 in this category. Helga's skill tree is sort of an honorable mention, which also has an additional tile increase, but usually you are using skill 2 more often than skill 3. It is a nice upgrade for Helga, but only recommended for those who find this range increase important. And with that, those are all the operators who deserve M1. I made a tier list to end this off to summarize the operators we covered and the level of importance of their M1s. Do you agree with the operators we talked about today? I hope you find this video helpful, and if not, I shall see you in the next one. Bye bye.